that they were using the American people as leverage.
Welcome to No Kings on the Hill with Dr. Law and Joe St. Clair. I'm going to go ahead and carry the speaker's speech here tonight. They're getting ready to vote on the bill. We're going to be kind of talking about the bill and other stuff like this anyway, so we're going to carry this start for now.
I'm going to guess for you that some of our Democrat colleagues are going to vote again to close the government, again to take food out of the mouths of families that need it, again to deny pay to federal employees, again to stall flights and cancel airlines and do all the rest that they've done. But we are not going to let them succeed in that gambit. That's right.
Can you hear it good, Joe?
Yep, it's loud and clear. Well, it was. Now I can't hear it at all. It stopped playing as soon as you spoke a minute ago.
Very beginning of this whole ordeal,
There you go.
on the Republican side, we operated in good faith. We offered a clean, nonpartisan CR. We were honest and transparent with the American people from the very beginning, and every single day of the shutdown, we went out and looked right into the camera with a press conference and told the American people the simple truth. We have done for the people what has been right and just and truthful. And in the end, that is what God honors always. Don't forget it. We need to get this government open as soon as possible, and I'm going to yield back the remainder of my time so we can do that. The American people demand it and deserve it. My friends, let's get this done. Thank you. I yield back.
Okay, I guess with the way I had it set up, it was running directly through my mic.
The gentleman yields. The gentleman from Oklahoma has 3 minutes remaining and is recognized.
I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields. All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 873, the previous question is ordered. The question is on the motion by the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chairs, the ayes have it. For what purpose does the gentleman from Connecticut?
Mr. Speaker, I request the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote.
All right, now I'll just go ahead and pause it. I tried to bring it up in the full screen earlier, but since I'm playing it directly through the I'm playing it directly through the actual website or web page instead of like YouTube or something, it won't let me go full screen. The way I set it up, it won't let me go full page. So
Yeah, some of those sites are finicky.
yeah, well, I'm watching it directly from the C-SPAN link through the United States House of Representatives straight through their website.
Yeah, so
I mean,
I guess it'll be settled in 15 minutes, if not sooner.
Well, knowing probably from what happened earlier, what they'll do is they'll do this 15-minute vote. It'll probably go about 3 to 4 minutes past the 15 minutes. Once they complete that, the person will probably call for a record vote call. So then they'll do another vote again. They'll just go through the voting process one more time. And then once that is done, then they'll record the vote as the yays having or nays having it. The vote to move the procedure forward to go to debate, which was 2 hours of total debate, that vote went right along party lines, 214 to 209, which I have a feeling this one will do the same. It'll be 214 to 209 straight across party lines, but it will still get passed. So then their goal is that they're supposed to have this on the president's desk by 9:30 this evening. Central Eastern Time, which right now it is 8:05 Eastern Time. So if they get this done by 8:30, they can run it. They'll get a runner from the Congress or probably the Senate, the Speaker himself will run it straight over to President Trump and have it on his desk. And I think he's going to do a speech straight from the Oval Office tonight on the signing of it. Once the voting gets done, I will switch over here to this other text, and I've actually got the bill of the text put up because a lot of people were going, "Oh, I could only see 5371. I don't see the changes." Well, the other day there was just the three separate amendments they passed, but once they found now the House finally has the Senate had it pulled up, and now it has, even though it says HR 5371, it actually now shows the adjustments that you have the agricultural bill, the other appropriations bills that covers like military, border patrol, air traffic controllers, all them their pay through the end of the fiscal year 2026, and then military construction and veterans benefits through the end of Veterans Affairs through the end of 2026, which is September 30th.
So
So
with the agriculture bill, that was where they were trying to shut the loophole for production of, I guess, like THC derivatives, right, from hemp, like the
well, no, the
Delta.
agriculture one is the agricultural budget. It's for for USDA, SNAP benefits, all that.
Did you hear anything about what I'm talking about?
No, they didn't try to
Uh,
put any extra thing in these. They kept as clean as can be. There's no attachments on it. These are just, this is the CR, the continuing resolution with the straight three appropriations bills. Now, if that was already included in the appropriations bill coming from the House, then it's in there. But if that was not something that was originally considered in the appropriations bill through the one big beautiful bill, then it wouldn't be in there. But if it was considered,
I believe I saw a video of Rand Paul saying that this was something that was pushed right now.
well,
But-
none of Rand Paul's amendments got put in it. I mean, he's one of those that he's always on the fringe.
Right.
Like, he was one of the only Republicans that wasn't voting to open the government.
Yeah, I mean, he's at least consistent, right?
Yep.
You gotta give him that. Him and Massey. I like Rand Paul. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I've always been a fan.
I like some of Rand Paul's stuff, but other times he's too much of an ideologue versus being a pragmatist. I mean, I can understand wanting to get certain things done, wanting to push for certain things, but there's a reason why it takes so many congressional members, so many people in the Senate to pass a bill. So
I think he's not enough of an ideologue because I think his father was far more of an ideologue, and I would say that in order to have kind of like the policies they want to push forward, which would be like to end the Fed, which, and also just a clear departure in the whole imperialistic world police America, ending that phase of experiment with our republic. So you need somebody who's kind of pure in that ideology to push and represent that idea. So you can't really compromise. If does that make sense? There has to be a purist.
yeah. I don't have. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. My son was outside the door yelling, "I want my Skittles." I'm like, "I don't have your Skittles."
So could you imagine if they hadn't reopened the government, what the steps would have been? Because if they hadn't, people would have gone without food. There would have been hunger strikes, and then ultimately,
Honestly, it's pretty sad that many people depend on and some of these people I've seen coming out here on TikTok complaining about, "Oh, I need," like this one kid goes, "I'm going to school for my GED, so I need food stamps." Dude, you're going to school for your GED. Okay. I am working on my doctorate in law and policy. I have 3 kids and a wife, work a full-time job as a real estate development manager. I don't feel sorry for you. Sorry. You don't need food stamps. You can work. You're going for your GED. You're not even in college. You can work, dude. I mean, to some of these people that are on food stamps, it makes no earthly sense. And it's kind of the one thing I'm doing my I'm working towards on my dissertation and looking at is the fact that we need to set up our public policy, whether it's just affordable housing or whether it's our whole welfare programs in general, that are set up to where people actually, to people who don't want to help themselves, they just don't get any help. Period. Now,
Well,
obviously,
I think
you have people that are mentally or physically disabled who cannot help themselves. Obviously, those people get help, but you have other people who either can't help themselves or don't want to help themselves because they think that they're owed it because they have this entitlement mindset. And those people shouldn't, after a certain short amount of time, they should not get help. But the people who actually want to take the help and want to better their lives, get technical job training and education, a degree, whatever, certificate, job certifications, whatever, get a better paying career, start making more money, get out of poverty, then we should help those people. But
well,
I mean, even if you look at biblical principles, the Bible speaks about you can't help. You want for people to truly want to do better, need to do better. They've got to have that. They've got to be able to fill that, not that the economic outside, but the inside, the economic inside of their personality and their ability. They got to feel like they worked for it. They want that I earned this type mentality if you're going to ever fix it. And I mean, even the Bible talks about that you can't help people that don't want to help themselves. And that's the problem with our system right now is there's so many people on it that don't need to be on it. They just need to go get a job. But they don't want to work because they would rather have all the free stuff.
I think there are a lot of people that do want to work, but I think that right now there is difficulty for many people in finding work because I know when I was 16, 17, I could find a job at a fast food restaurant pretty
Yeah, but we're
easily.
not talking about 16, 17. I'm talking about adults. And just like when President Trump said he was going to fix the H1B visas, but he wasn't going to get fully rid of them because the fact is we don't have the amount of people trained in engineering and some of those higher education jobs because the people they're going to college to get a bachelor's degree in liberal arts or French feminist studies instead of engineering. That's why he said he was going to do the HB1 visas, but he was going to make them to where they're a limited time to where until America can get enough people that are actually qualified, trained, or education wise qualified and trained to then take the position. But
I
for
mean,
now,
I would go back to school for engineering if somebody would pay for it rather than
that's what I'm talking about is, okay, so in affordable housing, if you do the affordable housing program, one, whether you're on Section 8 and you're getting pretty much all your rent paid for, or you're just in the income restricted one where your rent's lower based on the restrictions, you have that. And then also you have the fact of if you set that up to where they have a child care facility built on location that you use the state tax credits for child care to cover the cost of child care for the parents or whether it's single mothers or parents. So the kids are taken care of so they can actually be able to go back to school or get job training. And then you partner with the local, do a public-private partnership with local corporations and stuff, and with the local community college and the local university to structure what job training or whatever types of technical training the community college runs or whatever type of degrees the university program covers along with the companies is that it's in line with those corporations. So whether it's partnering with Samsung or Apple or whatever, because that way these people they're not paying anything. It's covered through these structures because the fact is that if you can get 70 to 80% of the people that start that program completing it and making at least at the average family median income or above, you're taking tens of thousands of people a year off the welfare rolls and putting them onto the taxpayer rolls. So it might be a little expensive in the beginning. I'm talking using tax credits though, so it's not even really taking money from the taxpayer. It's just giving businesses more tax credits to cover the expenses and them not have to pay property taxes as soon. Their property taxes are this whatever taxes are deferred longer on. And plus they get trained employees to cover those spots. Now all these people that are coming out of that, taking financial literacy courses while they're doing it, learning how to repair their credit, learning all this stuff, by the time they get through the program, they're making 70, 80, 100,000 a year. Now they're actually paying in taxes. They're not receiving refunds, and they're paying, you're increasing your tax rolls instead of just increasing the amount of money you're giving out to poor people. Because the problem is statistically, the majority of children who grew up with poor parents never get out of that cycle. They don't go to college. They don't get a degree. Yes, you have a small percentage like me who end up doing it, or Ben Carson or some other people have done it, or people that get lucky and are really good at sports and get out of there. But the majority of people who grew up with a poor, uneducated mother and father stay poor and uneducated themselves because they don't understand. To them, everything looks fine. They don't see anything wrong. They don't understand what they need, why they should do more to get more. It's just how they're raised. So for them to break that cycle, it usually doesn't happen. And you start breaking that cycle, not only are you benefiting the tax rolls from the parents, it's going to benefit the tax rolls for the next generation. So eventually, if you keep running the same program, you should be able to get to where you barely even need it. You should be able to get to where you only need affordable housing for your mentally and physically impaired. Because when you're getting the parents into bettering the parents' lives, the kids are seeing that. So they're going to want to better their lives. They're going to want to go to college and get an education because they're going to want to have that easier life and see what happened with their parents. Now your second generation isn't necessarily even in the program because they benefited from their parents going through the program.
Yeah, I mean, right, but I think you agree it's not just college. I could apply to
Well, no, that's why I said
different
technical
areas.
job training.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's why I said technical job training, general education, whatever. I mean, whether you're training to become a mechanic, or you're training to be a pipe fitter or pipe welder, or whether you're getting certain programming language certifications, or whether you're learning how to become a tooler at the very beginning of chip manufacturing, it still pays about $100,000 a year, but there's a specific type of factory line tooling job that requires specific training to complete or to be able to do, that's still paying 60 to 100 grand a year. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a 4-year education. It can be. I mean, obviously you're still going to have your teachers, your BSNs, your BSNs, so your bachelor's degree nurses, firefighters, police officers. You'll still have them needing income restricted housing until we can afford to start paying them better. But outside of that, you don't sit there and let these kids, if they want to get an education in college, you don't allow them to get a bachelor's degree in language arts, or a bachelor's degree in French feminist studies, or a bachelor's degree in history or biology or science. They have to get a bachelor's degree in something that will actually has a 70 to 80% chance of them actually receiving a well-paying job.
right.
Because that's what you need.
Yeah, and a lot of those arts degrees, they end up just becoming, something like a teacher or a general office worker anyway. So, yeah, I mean,
So that's what
they've kind of turned, the university industry, they commodified it. And I mean, people to college with so much debt these days that, we really do have to look at how to kind of reorganize and reorder our society so we don't have so many people entering career fields and degrees that are no longer useful.
And that's the
by
same
the
way
time
of like
they graduate.
Oh yeah, and that's the whole fight and argument with the ACA, and they keep on wanting to increase the subsidies because the insurance premiums keep going up, but yet the insurance companies' profit margins are triple that. And that's because it's what happened in colleges back in the 60s and 70s. State universities and community colleges were free. You only had to pay to go to Ivy Leagues and everything. But as soon as the government started throwing money and got guaranteed student loans, government-backed loans that anybody could approve for, no matter what their credit is, those universities literally started creating college courses just because people were interested in them, and it attracted them to school. Not necessarily, there might have been a small 10% of the less than 2% of the population would actually find a job with that degree, but because it interests 40% of the population, they're going to provide a degree, even if it means people are graduating with $200,000 in debt and never get a job anywhere other than Starbucks as a barista. So my goal, my thing is if you are going to be getting federal Pell Grants or federal student loans, you should not be able to get approved for those loans if the degree program you have chosen does not have at least a 75 to 80% placement rating with a job making at or above the average household income for the area that you live in within the first 2 years. If it doesn't meet that percentage, then the degree does not qualify. You can pay out of your own pocket if you want, but the federal government is not going to just give you all these student loans for you to go get a worthless degree because of the fact that it's screwing the taxpayers over because you're going for a worthless degree that you're never going to be able to find a job with, which means now you have all these taxpayers that are going to be on the hook for the student loans that you can never pay back because you didn't get that job.
Yeah, well, I mean, so most degrees are 4 years, right? So that's 4 years that you have this population of young adults not entering the workforce. So that is one utility that serves society. But on the other hand, like I went to college and I remember that the first 2 years of courses are general education courses. So it's a repeat of things you've already learned or that you should have learned in high school, middle school, elementary school. So the fact that, like, regardless of what you're saying, half your time and half your money is being spent on things that you should already know. That's alarming. And you were in the military. I was in the military. I had access to the CLEP tests, and I think I took 13 different CLEPs, so that I didn't have to take any of those general education courses. And I never found I guess, not attending those courses to be a detriment to me because I went on and I did fine in my bachelor's and I did well in graduate school. So, if they really carry the value that they should based on their cost and based on the amount of time it takes to complete them, then, you know, I should be very severely lacking, but I'm not. So it's kind of an argument against
All right.
there's this bubble of the valuation of college.
Hold on one
And
second.
Bill is passed.
All right, hold on a second.
The motion is adopted.
All right, so it's passed 222 to 209.
Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
wonderful. Wow. The longest government shutdown in history is over. That is insane.
Yep. I went ahead. I did a post earlier. I recorded. I didn't say what the votes were on the video. I just left my I had it already drawn up in a draft and everything. I just had to update the numbers on my description. And then because I didn't want to post it before before they officially passed it, so everybody aren't going, oh, it's not that didn't happen yet.
Yeah, well,
But also so I could
we're living in historic times. It's pretty unprecedented, but I wonder what's going to end up happening with the filibuster because they were already saying that it's very clear that once the Dems get back into power, they're going to do away with it. So,
well, yeah, but the thing is there's almost no reason to remove the filibuster completely because of the fact that they got what we wanted done without needing
there's
to do it.
another government
Now,
shutdown
maybe if something,
looming in January, at the end of January.
well, January the 30th, the goal is they're hoping to have all of the they're hoping by January 30th they'll have the other 9 appropriations bills done and voted on. We'll see what happens, but the thing is also that since they have the 3 main appropriations bills that really what affect the government shutdown, meaning the military, border patrol, aircraft control, all those guys. The problem with many of those people not being paid and stuff, and it really being noticed, or people not getting the snaps covered Veterans Affairs benefits is covered. So all that stuff is covered now, whether they pass a bill on January the 30th or not. So it won't be a complete shutdown. It would only be a partial shutdown. And honestly, the majority of the people wouldn't even pay attention to it in America because it wouldn't be stuff that affects them. It would just be your everyday I hate to say this, but your everyday like government employee that isn't really considered an essential worker. So people in the IRS, people in HUD, people in all the other bureaucracy which if you actually want to look, if you read the book, read this book right here, pretty much says all of that is unconstitutional.
What's the name of that book? Your camera's inverted.
Is administrative law unlawful?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it goes into it goes in and it actually relates the administrative law back to the ability of what administrative law through the executive does is it relates it back to the prerogative powers and monarchical powers of a king that weren't even constitutional in Europe. So it's like if it wasn't constitutional in 1617 under a king, how is it constitutional here?
That's actually
even the Stark.
That's the genetic history of courts too. If you look at where they originate from, is that
I mean, originally the Starr Commission had started to allow some of it to become legalized, but that's why they ended up just doing away with the Starr Commission or the Starr.
I mean, so
they ended up,
you had the courts of justice ran by the king, obviously, and by the nobility. They had lesser courts throughout, England, but then you also had the trade courts, which were ran by guilds. So essentially, they would.
Yeah, listen to this one. Okay, so taxation was yet another avenue for extra legal legislation, and once again, the history is revealing. Although no topic of legislation provoked greater controversy, English monarchs in the 16th and 17th centuries claimed that they had an absolute prerogative to impose some taxes. It was not a claim, however, in which they were apt to prevail. The imposition of taxes traditionally belonged to Parliament, and in response to the claims of the Crown, it came to be settled that any prerogative taxation was unconstitutional.
Right.
So even the kings couldn't win this stuff back in the 1700s. How in the world is the administrative state a bunch of unelected bureaucrats, administrative law judge, which isn't even a real judge. They're not even part of the judicial branch. It's practically like its own fourth branch of government.
Well, I could tell you how it's possible. It's these systems.
Well, I know how it's possible. I'm just saying it's constitutionally, it's not. Obviously, Congress has given away their powers.
Well, I mean, not just that, but like these extraneous, construction, like this takes a lot of time and human energy to establish these systems. So the reason it's possible is because our currency and our monetary policy is based in fiat currency. So money printing and the fact that, rather than that being in the hands of our government, that's being ran by private central banks. So they prop up the administrative state. They determine where all money's injected and flows into the economy. They pick winners and losers. And they do so along with, the government. It's the bankers with the administrative state that, kind of function as these, deeper systems with deep levels of inertia, which you can kind of see that's what the current Trump administration is struggling against right now.
Well, I mean, the Trump administration in some ways is using the administrative power to its own advantage because obviously the Congress takes forever to do anything. But there's also areas where he's using that administrative power to actually downsize the administrative state and to downsize, like how he's looking to get rid of the Department of Education and other administrative departments that technically aren't constitutional anyways. He's using the power where he can to downsize those as fast as he can without going through Congress. And then the rest of it, he's depending on Congress for. So he needs Congress to get their act together. He needs Congress to get their act together so that he can actually get the job get the stuff done, or Congress can get it done where it's supposed to be. And then we've also started seeing the Supreme Court finally start returning the power to Congress and the states where it should have been in the beginning. Like the one thing you mentioned you wanted to talk about earlier, I was going to go ahead and mention that is for the Obergefell v. Hodges and the Supreme Court at the time opinion to not rehear that case. I don't think it has to do with the fact that they've said that they're never going to rehear that case. I think it has to do with the fact that obviously there was something, the underlying case that was trying to challenge Obergefell v. Hodges based on their case, there wasn't a good enough of a set fine to be there. But once again, even if they were to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges and reverse the constitutional right to gay marriage, that doesn't make it federally illegal. It just does the same thing like Roe v. Wade. It returns those decisions back to the individual states. And what I have to say for anybody who wants gay marriage or abortion to be legalized federally, petition your congressional members to submit a constitutional amendment, because that is how our government, our constitutional republic works. If you don't like the way the Constitution is, submit a constitutional amendment. Then if there's enough people that agree with you that that's the way it should be, it will get passed in the Congress, the House, and then 34 states will ratify it. But if there's not a supermajority of people in the government or individual states or representatives within the states that agree with your viewpoint, it's not going to be ratified. But it's not the judiciary's role to go in there and make something out of something that was never there. Because if we, again, go back to whether the Obergefell v. Hodges was looking at the 14th Amendment, the 5th Amendment, or the 16th Amendment, no state in the United States at the time, any of those amendments were ratified. Actually, at the time, all those amendments were ratified in every state in the continental United States. Anything to do with being gay was illegal. Sodomy was illegal. Everything else on that end was considered a criminal charge. So whether you agree with it or disagree with it or not, the point is that was never meant to be. It would never have been. None of the constitutional intent or the original intent of those constitutional interpretations at the time would have been meant for it. So submit a constitutional amendment. Now, I think you have a better chance of getting a constitutional amendment to recognize gay marriage than you do abortion or anything to do with transgender, because there's about 30-40% of the people in the United States who are gay. And even if roughly about 30% of the population are gay. And then if you take all the rest of the population who have people that are in their family who are gay, who would be supportive of certain things for them to have a right for their own, because they don't, as long as it was in there that it doesn't force churches to have to be forced to do a marriage or anything like that, that's left to their choice, and that it federally be protected for them, I don't think it would really be turned down. I don't think there would be enough. I think at least a good 60% of the population would agree with amendment in that aspect. Now, if that amendment tries to go to the fact of recognizing a biological male as a female, that's a total different story, because that doesn't even scientifically doesn't make sense.
Well, if you thought the backlash, there's supposed to be a midterm red wave a couple years ago, right after the Dobbs decision, but then the Dobbs decision really energized the Democratic base, and they ended up just stomping the Republicans that election. So if you thought that was bad, if they were to overturn, basically, the gay marriage precedent, then I think the fallout from that would be like probably 5 times as extreme for the reasons you cited. Because I think I think it's like Pandora's box, right? Once it's opened up, you can't put it back in. There's no way to unravel the marriage connections, the joint estates, the domestic violence cases that have involved same-sex couples that are recognized because they're recognized as legitimate relationships underneath the land of the law. So
for close to 16 years, and I think that's kind of why the Supreme Court didn't agree to hear it, is not necessarily that they agreed that it was ever a correct did they ever agree, did they agree with the original ruling, or did they that somehow they don't agree with what they dissented from in the original time frame when at least four of the three of the five that are on the courts now were still on the court back then? It has more to do with the fact that they understand that it's just too much to unravel right now, because the fact that it's been in effect, it's been in constitutional law or precedent for 15, 16 years. So the amount of people who are gay or lesbian who are married and have families and all that stuff, there's no way you can unwind that. It would cause too much trouble. And also the fact you say, I think it's just too big of a thing. Now, obviously, like, they overturned President Biden's trying to extend Title IX and all that stuff, because that stuff is less than 2-3% of the population, and it hasn't been president for 10, 15, 20 years.
Well, I think support for gay marriage, I think it's like 60, 65% at this point.
Well, and that's what I was saying a minute ago is I think a constitutional amendment for it would pass, and then there would be no question on a recase, but you would have to narrow that constitutional amendment to say that you can't force a religious church to marry somebody if it's against their religious practices, because that's freedom of religion. Because there's plenty of other churches, there's plenty of other, almost anybody these days can go online and become a Baptist. I mean, you can go get certified as a minister to conduct a wedding online through the Church of Buddha. I mean,
yeah, but
literally,
if they were to change that in the Constitution, then that would take away the Democrats' ability to use, this phantom, they're going to overturn strategy for solidifying the gay base as
well. The good thing is
on their side.
Well, the good thing is the Supreme Court. I know I saw there's somebody online trying to act like saying the Supreme Court had just ruled to hear on the gay marriage conversation, when actually they told total opposite. They ruled that they would not hear on the case, that they would not hear the case. So that's
there's people online spin things every people online spin things every direction. That's why you can't just trust headlines.
Well, right now I think I haven't checked in a while. Let me see. This is what we need to do, and we could. What's the best? It's the way we need to do the next. It's the only way we're going to get the next set of
what's up?
Oh, a second. I'm trying to see how many states have passed the legislation. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so we're 15 out of 34. Convention of States, 15 states have passed legislation to request calling for an Article 5 Convention of the States. We need a total of 36 states to call a Convention of the States to ratify amendments to the Constitution, because one of the pushes for that was to put in the Constitution that congressional members could only serve 4 terms and senators could only serve 1 term, because the Senate term is 6 years and then 2, 4, and 6, so 3 terms on the congressional side.
Hey, another policy. Speaking of that, another policy that we were talking about earlier that I wanted to mention was Trump had mentioned on the campaign trail that he planned on moving the different federal agencies and bureaucracies out of DC across the country in order to dilute their voting power in Virginia. But it doesn't seem like that's happening, even though I thought that was a genius idea.
Well, it can't happen. That takes a while to happen again there, because you've got to find the offices. Just like when President Trump said he was going to bring all this manufacturing, start coming back over day one and everything, everybody thought, oh, that just means there are going to be these millions of jobs day one. No, he's getting them to commit and to sign contracts saying that they'll bring their companies back to America, but then it still takes some time through their whatever process they have set up within their corporations to figure out which state they're going to choose. And then they politically debate with the states for tax exemptions and stuff like that for creating a certain amount of jobs. Then they look at for the cities or the counties that want to do it. And then that might take them a year or two just to find the location of where they're going to build. Then they've got to go get through the purchasing process or the acquisition process of that land. And once that happens, then they actually got to go through the zoning and civil and architectural plans and everything like that with the city. And then once they finally get approved to start construction, then it's about 12 to 16 months once they start working the construction. So from the time that they admit to coming over till the time that they actually get us 2 to 4 years. That's why when everybody said, oh, President Biden had all these jobs created under him. No, he didn't. Those were Trump's jobs. Those were jobs that had been delayed because companies got delayed in 2019 when COVID hit, couldn't restart until 2021, 2022 when the COVID restrictions started being lifted. So a lot of the jobs that were created during President Trump's first terms didn't show up till Biden's term because President Trump didn't run 2 consecutive terms. If he had run 2 consecutive terms, then all that job differences would have been seen as being him. And then whether the inflation was him or not, we would have known because he would have been in for 2 terms. But since he wasn't in for 2 terms, people tried to give Biden the credit for his job creations while trying to say that the inflation was President Trump's fault, which doesn't work.
I mean, inflation was definitely both of their fault. They were printing 200 billion per month during the COVID. I think they tripled.
Yeah, that was trying to keep everybody from losing their jobs and just the economy crashing and everything.
Yeah, but they were following the John Hopkins plan that all these corporations had already basically had a plan in place for. So, it was the biggest players who had access to that information that benefited, and basically created quasi monopolies. Propped up by government mismanagement based on corrupt, influence of people like Dr. Anthony Fauci, who personally benefited from, direct ownership in the companies that he was supposed to be regulating.
Yeah, well, I would love for them to remove the filibuster. I just don't see it happening unless when they're trying to pass the rest of President Trump's agenda, Democrats just get totally in the way and they can't get through the Senate. But I think what I thought was funny is as the Democrats knew that the government shutdown was coming to an end, and people were starting to wake up and see that it was a Democratic shutdown, not a Republican. It was the Democrats' fault, and they were holding the American people hostage for power and just to try to punish Trump and everything. Isn't it amazing how all of a sudden now they release one email cherry picked out of 10,000 emails to try to make Trump look like try to make it look like Epstein had said that Trump had a bigger relationship than when in reality, the GOP, the Republicans released the actual 10,000 emails that came along with those, which actually proved that those were opposition research. That there was a guy, well-known Democrat, like opposition research guy that was telling Epstein, hey, if you want to recover your political standing or your public view perception of you and stuff, then you need to go attack President Trump. You need to say that he was at the parties and all this stuff and that was back during the 2016 Hillary election. So once again, the only reason that they even tried to bring anything about Epstein back out is because they can't stand having the narrative be positive for President Trump, the Republicans, for one day. So as soon as last 40 days, they haven't said anything about Epstein because they've had the government shutdown to try to blame on him. But now that the shutdown's ending, Democrats lost, it's looking bad for them. Now all of a sudden they want to try to go pull something up out of Epstein that wasn't even there.
Yeah, and I've seen if they get really control of the government, they plan on stacking. They plan on adding a bunch of seats. They plan on getting rid of the filibuster. So,
I think there's a way for us to stop them from doing it because they stopped us. We stopped them from doing it during Biden's term.
Well, I don't know. I mean, hopefully that is the case. But if not, then it may be wise to end the filibuster now in order to gain a major victory in some area. Then again, I know it seems like there's no way to de-escalate this, kind of exchange of government, weaponization against, right now, the prosecution of like Brennan, Comey,
You're breaking up.
Power. Huh?
I said you're kind of gargly. or breaking up a little.
Better.
Yeah, there you go.
I was saying with the prosecution of Comey and Brennan, those guys are not in power. So it's not as though prosecuting those two dudes, there's any kind of effective influence on the government. However, we've seen in the past, like when Trump was being targeted, it was, they were targeting a potential political rival. And now we kind of, the whole idea of trying to get Montgomery deported, which I'm not a supporter, but to favor deporting him. I don't think that's.
Well, if he lied, I'm sorry, but if he lied on his application, on his visa application to come over here and did not, he ends up having connections to terrorist organizations that he did not clarify on his visa application, and everything that he lied about on his visa application just says the same are the claims about Ilhan Omar. If the claims about Ilhan Omar's visa application and the laws and the corruption that was in that application are the same with Mandami's, then both of them should be removed from office and deported. Period. It shouldn't matter if they're white, Muslim, whatever. And that's what I think is funny is all the people say, "Oh, you support illegal immigration, you're a racist." And I'm like, do you not know that there's white people that aren't from America? I mean, there are illegal immigrants here that we're deporting that are from Russia, from Yugoslavia, from the Balkovich areas, from Ukraine, from the Middle East. I mean, from the Eastern European countries, from the Balkans, all of that. And all those people are white. It's like, I'm sorry, but the majority of the people are not. It's like these people are white too. It's like we're not the only white people in the United States, in the world. Americans are not the only white people, and I think that's what people forget is they're thinking, oh, you want to deport illegal immigrants, that means you're only deporting brown people. No, it doesn't. It means you're deporting anybody because you can be white and be an illegal immigrant. But if you lied on your visa application to get in the United States, and then you still have not even you're run for a public office, whether it's a mayor, a local council member, a governor, or a senator or congresswoman, and you have not denounced your citizenship to your home country, and then you lied about relations to terrorist organizations and anti-American organizations, plus other lies on your visa application, then you should be deported. You shouldn't get treated any different than somebody working at McDonald's. It shouldn't matter that you're public office. What should matter is that you broke the law.
Is that the case?
I don't know. I'm just saying that's where the calls for him to be deported are based on that. Are based on the fact that he did not declare any relations or connections to the terrorist organizations that he has been affiliated with or had connections to. Same thing with Ilhan Omar. It's something to do with terrorist organizations, and her actually saying that she married her brother, the person that she had married to get citizenship for, or her to get citizenship for, was actually her cousin or her brother or something like that. So there's a couple different things, and that's why I said if those claims are true, then they should be deported. It shouldn't matter whether. Now, obviously, if those things if they have not broken the law, then no, we can't deport them because that's not constitutional or legally right. They both have visas. One of them, I think, both they may have been naturalized too, so they obviously have due process rights and all that. But if they broke the law to get here, then that's a different story. Then yes, they should be deported because you shouldn't be able to come to America, lie on your visa application, violate a bunch of laws to get in here and lie to get citizenship, and then run for office as protection. That just right there sounds like an invasion to me. You could be letting somebody invade your country by not punishing them just because they're in a high public office.
There's not many other countries that you can go immigrate to and serve in their military or become a politician in those countries. I don't think I know of any. Maybe Canada, right? Canada, I guess you could do that. UK, you could do that.
Well, no, because if you can't do it in Europe, you can't do it if you can't do it in the UK, you can't do it in Canada because Canada is under the English crown.
Well, doesn't the UK have the mayor of London? Isn't he a foreign-born dude?
Well, maybe the mayor, but I don't think their prime ministers. I don't think can be foreign born.
Right.
Maybe their their parents were, but not the actual politician. Maybe the politician's parents were foreign born.
I don't think that I don't think that you could do that in many other countries. I think that's probably only in the West where we'll allow people who are naturalized citizens to run. Can't imagine
Yeah.
Russia would allow that. No way China would allow that.
Well, my problem is it's not necessarily allowing naturalized citizens to run here. It's allowing naturalized citizens to run that have not denounced or sworn an allegiance or an oath to the United States and still have an allegiance to their home country. Because I'm sorry, if you're going to serve this, say you want to going to swear an oath to support and defend the Constitution and protect the Americans people's rights and constitutional rights, then you should not still be able to take that oath if you still have not denounced your loyalty to your home country. I'm not saying that you can't remember your heritage and still go visit your home country and stuff, but you can't still have that stated loyalty to them.
Yeah. And well, I mean, that begs another question. I don't know if you know this, but there's several, I believe senators and representatives that have dual citizenship with Israel. And I don't know if you've heard about this, kind of right-wing civil war over the issue of Israel right now, or if you're keyed into that topic.
Like I said, I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're from Israel. I don't care if they're from Timbuktu or Mars or Zephron Purple World. I don't give a flying fuck.
Are you a fan of Tucker Carlson?
I used to listen to him. I haven't listened to him in a long time, but my whole point is I don't care where you're from. If you want to run for office in the United States of this great fucking America, then you have to denounce your home country and swear an allegiance to this country. Period.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that.
I'm sorry, but because Ilhan Omar, I think it was her, one of the squad, and maybe Ilhan Omar, it may have been another one of the squad members, but they're literally on video stating that they are going to protect and work to defend Somalia still.
Well, so I'm in Detroit right now, and my buddy, he was telling me that some of the local towns here have been taken over by, basically Arabs. But he says that, the local governments are fine, but that apparently there's some radicals in the area that want to institute like Sharia law, like a parallel government in the areas that are dominated by these groups, which that's just, insane to think about taking place in the Midwest of the United States. Sharia law in the streets of Michigan. Can you imagine?
Yeah. Somebody put on here, I vote for no one, and a kitty cat.
I vote for no one.
Yeah, but I mean, that blah, 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 whatever, that kind of makes no sense because if you vote for no one, then your voice means nothing. And so it's better to vote for somebody you agree with. But here's what I'll argue down to is like there were a lot of people saying that they wanted to vote for Chris Sliwa during this New York City mayor election. I can tell you this: if I lived in New York City, I would have voted for Cuomo, even though I'm a Republican, a staunch Republican, and I would swear I would never vote for a Democrat. I would have voted for Cuomo before I voted for Sliwa because I knew Sliwa was not going to win. And I would have rather my vote gone to be against Mandami than voting for Sliwa, which was literally a vote for Mandami by the way of taking votes away from Cuomo. By voting for Sliwa, you were taking away votes from Cuomo, which was literally giving votes to Mandami. And so that would have been the only time that I would have voted for a Democrat because I would have rather have voted for the devil I know than the devil I don't.
I'm glad I'm not a New Yorker because I'm glad I didn't have to vote in that election.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have stayed out of the election. I would have just not voted, but that would have been the hardest decision I would have had to make, and I would have had to have voted Democrat, which would suck because most states, if you vote Democrat, if you haven't voted Republican at least 2-3 years in a row, then you can't run in the Republican primary.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm glad. That's one of the reasons I wouldn't choose to live in any place like New York City because
I wouldn't either. It's too
the
dang expensive. It costs too much money.
the political climate out there is you know, uh, when I lived in San Francisco, Berkeley, California, there's just this air of hostility because everyone's walking on eggshells, and at the start of every class, at the start of everything, you have to hear an apology because it's all on native land, and you're interacting with people that are wanting to use pronouns that don't match their physical characteristics, and then they act like you've committed some atrocity against them if you forget their pronouns. Yeah, I mean, I would say that those areas are, steer clear if you can. Um, definitely, don't. I mean, New York City, San Francisco, Chicago, those are basically lost at this point. Even parts of Dallas. I don't know if you know that, but
Well, there's certain parts of Dallas, but Dallas has actually got a semi-conservative or conservative Republican mayor right now.
yeah, the DA is a Democrat. I'm pretty sure. Most of the judges are Democrats, if I remember correctly. But yeah,
Yeah, so
I think
we'll see.
I think we got another 3 minutes. My phone is about to die though, so I'm not sure if I'll be
Yeah,
good for the next
but no,
2 minutes.
Trump will sign it tonight, and then it'll still probably be middle to end of next week before the government fully reopens. Because it's not like President Trump signs his bill tonight, and then all the checks back paychecks for everybody just goes out tomorrow.
No, but people could show up for work at 7 a.m.
Well, and I hope that Trump does do what he says or can do what he says about giving all of the air traffic controllers who did not take vacation or sick time during the shutdown, when already, even during the regular time of years, due to shortages, they can't even usually take but 4 vacation days a year. Hopefully, they get that $10,000 bonus for showing up.
Shoot, I would become an air traffic controller.
Oh, that takes a lot. That takes a lot of training, and it's a really stressful job because until they fully upgrade the system, there's still stuff at the air traffic controllers that are done manually.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you are literally putting planes that are crossing each other's paths within a matters of inches or well, it's not inches down on the ground, but what equals to inches up on the ground in the sky. In other words, it's feet.
I was air crew. I remember dealing with ATC.
Yeah. Obviously, their speed that they're going, it's like inches down here because they're going so fast, even though they're a couple hundreds or thousands of feet apart. At that speed they're going, just 1/10 of a second off, and kaboom!
We probably need
You're
to
off 1/10
modernize
of a
that. We
second.
probably need to modernize that system.
We are. That's one other thing that was added into the one big beautiful bill and stuff, but that's going to take time because you're talking about having to redesign a whole new system, put in all the infrastructure for it. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take years to get that going.
I don't see why that's the case because Apple probably could pull it off. Elon Musk could do it.
Well, yeah, but he didn't get awarded the contract because he was still in Doge, still working at Doge at the time.
Well, maybe we should examine how the Chinese do their projects.
No, and maybe we shouldn't, considering they just had a bridge collapse.
I mean, we just had a bridge collapse like a year ago when a ship
yeah, but
ran
theirs
into
was
it.
3 months old.
Fair, but that's also
their bridge was not a 70-year-old bridge. It was hit by an ocean tanker.
I think one of their problems is that they have an issue with their quality of like fabricated materials like concrete and steel. I've heard that.
Yeah, somebody tried to tell me, oh, it's because of a mudslide. I was like, no, because the day before there were cracks in the bridge and the slope was tilting further than it should have, which is the only reason why nobody was injured because they shut the bridge a day early before it collapsed. So maybe a rock slide, a boulder hitting it was the final straw that broke the camel's back, but it was not the reason the bridge collapsed.
Well, who knows?
I mean, that bridge was going to collapse whether if it had been another week or two before it got really high winds, it would have collapsed no matter what. It just happened to happen faster because a big boulder hit the one end of it when it was already structurally compromised and already getting ready to fall than if it had waited another week or two for the wind to beat it.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been a good podcast. My phone's on 1%, so I'm gonna have to.
Yep.
But
Well, I'll see you next week, and
or
let's try
Friday. Let me know if you want to do it Friday. We'll talk. All right.
All right. Yeah. If there's something to do, we can do it Friday. And then also, I want to try to start doing these on the same day sometimes so people know when to look for us.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think
All right.
Fridays are probably going to be easier for me because I would think Wednesdays would be easy, but it's never know when my wife's going to get home.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Later.
Later. All right. Well, all of our watchers and listeners, thank you for tuning in tonight. Please check out the website going across the bottom of the screen there. No Kings on the Hill with drhilllaw.com. That is No Kings on the Hill with drhilllaw.com. There you can check all of our other episodes out. Also, please hit that subscribe or follow button. It's free to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. And then also please hit that like and share button. Right now we do it once a week, either Wednesdays or Fridays. So I'm going to try to start doing it on Fridays standard, but we will see tonight. We just went ahead and did it this Wednesday because we had the vote going on in the house tonight. So thank you for tuning in and watching. And also, please let us know anything that you would like to see in the comments or any other subjects on law or policy that you'd like us to cover, and have a